It's Friday, folks. You know what that means. Time for another Quick Queries Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today we're going to talk about one very important missing index that could be killing your Microsoft Access performance. I see this a lot. People never think to index this thing. I'm going to show you in just a minute. Plus, we've got your questions from YouTube, or just, my reply to some of your comments. YouTube and other sites. Today we got some ones from different sites too. I am on different social media from time to time. And, I got lots to go over. This is Quick Queries number 62. So are you ready? Here we go. Today's question comes in email from Spencer from Orlando, Florida. One of my platinum members. Spencer's been a member for a while now. He says, as my tables keep growing, my forums are loading slower and slower. I checked my network speed. That seems fine. I've got relationships set up, and I compact and repair regularly, but my combo boxes still take forever to load. What could be causing this? Are there any other tips to speed up my database? So I had Spencer send me some screenshots of his database design. I don't accept file attachments. It takes me too long to go through database files. I don't do that anymore. But once in a while, I'll ask someone to send me some screenshots, just like I tell them to post in the forums with screenshots. It's easier with screenshots too. I don't got to go digging around. So I said, send me all your design, from your tables and stuff like that. And I saw that he's missing something very important that a lot of people don't think to do. So what is this thing that's missing, you ask? Well, foreign key indexes. No one ever thinks to index their foreign keys. Normally, you set up indexes for fields that you search and sort on, and that's what I teach people, in my regular classes and stuff. But you don't think to index the foreign keys because you're not thinking in your brain that you're searching and sorting on that. But every time Access makes a relationship between two tables, it is basically searching and sorting on those columns. Well, what does that look like in the real world? Well, we got customers, right? Customers have orders. So in the order table, the foreign key is the customer ID, right? So if you go to the order table, go to design view. All right, here's our order ID. That's our primary key. Here's our customer ID, right? Now that's a number, foreign key, right? Number of type log integer. And down here, index should be set to yes, duplicates okay. And in Spencer's database, he had them all set to no. And so every time Access makes that relationship, right? If you got customers and orders joined, Access has to look through all of the orders for every customer in that join, and that'll slow things down for sure, especially over a network. Now, Spencer's database, he did tell me that he's been using this database file forever, so it's probably something that he upgraded over the years. I think he said he started with 2000 or 2003, so Access didn't always set that to yes, duplicates okay for number fields. Now, here's what actually happens though. And this is why naming conventions are so important. If you just add a field down here, like let's just call it, the customer, and make it a number of type long integer, notice that it's not indexed. Okay? Access will only make that index if it sees the last two characters of the field name say ID. So if I call this something ID and make it a number, look at that. It made it an index. So that's why you should always end your indexed fields, whether they're primary keys or foreign keys, end them in ID. He doesn't have that either. He's got, he'll have customer in his order table or his contact table. So I told him, I said, and it's a lot of work for him to take this 20-some-year-old database and change all the field names. So the solution for him was just go through and make sure, you've got everything indexed properly. But that's why you should stick with my naming conventions. I know what I'm doing. Beginners always ask me in the beginner classes, why do we got to do it this way? Just do it this way for now. I'll explain why later in the expert classes. Just do as I say, not as I do. Some of my old databases were bad too. If you want to learn more about indexing, go watch this video. I also cover it in several of my classes. Got lots more links on this page too. I do start covering indexing in Access Beginner 4, and then I go over it more in the more advanced classes. There's composite keys, which is an index between two different fields. multi-field indexes, all kinds of stuff on here. So check it out. I'll put a link down below. Next up is a question posted on my Access Learning Zone Facebook group. I don't usually promote Facebook because I hate Facebook. In fact, I got a whole video as to why I hate Facebook. You can go watch it if you're curious. But this post from Tammy says, I was wondering if it's possible to migrate my current 2003 database I've been using with Windows 10 over to 365, Access 365. Windows 10 updated. Now, every time I try to save data, it just shuts down. I would lose over 30,000 customers if it can't be moved to an updated version or fixed to still operate properly. I had this custom built years ago. So, yes, you should be able to move it over to Access 365. The first thing is make sure you got a good backup copy before you start messing with stuff. Make sure you got it backed up. That's important. All right? I cannot emphasize this enough. Backup, and then back up your backups. Now, sometimes you can open a 2003 MDB file right in Access 365 and it'll convert it. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. I haven't actually done this in a long time myself. It's been a long time since I've had a 2003 MDB file. I've got some on like some old CDs that I just recently copied over to my hard drive that I found on my storage unit. So I'll be playing with those a little bit later. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If you can still open the old database, hold down the shift key and open the database up, and that will bypass any startup code. You should be able to get to the tables and export those tables, if anything else. Just export them as a text file or an Excel file or whatever. So even if you can't copy the program part of it over, the forms and reports, you at least still have your data and you won't lose your 30,000 customers. That's the most important thing. And usually if Access does open and import your database, usually like the forms and the reports themselves will come through fine, but it's usually the fancy stuff that breaks. Right, like any weird VBA code that you got in there, or custom controls, things of that nature. It's like restoring an old car and putting a 2025 engine into it, right? And then of course you got to worry about 32-bit, 64-bit issues. There's a lot going on there, but give it a try and see it might go smoothly. You might have to create a brand new blank Access database shell using Access 365, the newer version, whatever you've got, and just import the objects out of your old database. Bring in all the forms, all the queries, bring them all in separately. Sometimes that works. Sometimes you got to bridge the versions in the middle because sometimes the new version of Access can't import something that old. So you might need to find someone with a version kind of in the middle, like 2013 or 2016. That might be able to import your old file, and then we can convert that over to something else. So there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of ifs, thens, ands, or buts. So give it a try. See what you can do. If you have problems, post more screenshots and stuff in the group there if you want to, and we'll take a look and see. Or post them in the forums on my website. Or if you want someone to hold your hand, walk you through this, I do have a whole bunch of consultants, Access consultants, on my website on my Access Developer Network page. Check it out. I'm sure one of them will be able to get you up and running. All right. While we're doing the tour of other social media sites, this is one that I saw posted on Reddit. Someone said, anyone know where I could take some Access classes in person, ideally in New Jersey or Manhattan, if that's all that's out there? And then one of the moderators, Energens, if that's how you pronounce it, Energens, said, check out your local community college. They often have classes in Access, which is true. A lot of them do. And then, of course, I had to chime in. In-person classes are so 1990s. There's so much great stuff online now. Hint, hint. No, just kidding. I couldn't help myself. But that said, there are benefits to in-person training, especially if it's a small class. You can get one-on-one time with the instructor, ask your own questions, and sometimes just learn better when you're in a real classroom setting. I used to teach live in person. I used to have my own training center back in Buffalo, New York in the early 2000s. And I used to love the little, the interaction with, 4 or 5 students at a time. But in addition to community colleges, check local businesses, right? You might find a lot of computer companies that have a training room set up in the back. That's what I used to do. And a lot of those guys really know what they're doing. That's how I got started. Go to Google Maps and search for computer training and ask them if they do Microsoft Access. But definitely be careful. Check the instructor's credentials. When I was in college, we're talking 1990 through, I think, 92 or 3. I don't remember. I dropped out. I forgot exactly when. But I had teachers who barely knew where the power switch was. That's not an exaggeration. I mean, some of them needed help turning the projector on, the little projector that was connected to their laptop. So a lot of the times, you don't want an instructor who's just one chapter ahead of you in the book. And I'll be honest, I was sometimes that instructor. Sometimes I got companies, they'd come to me for Word or Excel or Access training, and then they'd be like, well, hey, we got 3 or 4 people that want to learn Photoshop. Do you teach that? And I was, young and hungry. I needed the money. Yeah, of course. I teach Photoshop. Let's schedule it for 2 weeks from now. And I'd go home and learn Photoshop. So be careful who you get. So, which, by the way, that in-person training reminded me. I travel quite a bit for a few different reasons, and I've been thinking it might be fun to do some local meetups. Nothing big or formal, not like a formal training setting, but like an Access coffee talk, right? Just get together, maybe a local bookstore or a coffee shop. We could talk databases, that kind of thing. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, drop a comment down below and let me know what city you're in. And if enough people are interested, maybe I'll start doing this, because I travel a lot, and I've always thought it'd be nice to maybe just have a little hangout and meet up with some of you guys. But yeah, let me know. And once in a while, speaking of while we're on Reddit, once in a while I get comments like that really make me smile. These comments really make my day, and I appreciate it when you guys post stuff like this. It really it makes it feel rewarding for doing what I do. So thank you very much. All right, let's head over to YouTube now for comments. Mr. Linskill says, this is cool, and he's talking about my Excel style equations where you can put in any text box, you can put it where if you hit equal, it'll pop up an input box and ask you for an equation. Then you can type in an equation. It'll save that in the field, so you can do, basic sums and stuff and any kind of equation inside of a cell, just like you can in Excel. And the way that I accomplish this is by coming down here and saying if you hit equal as the first key, it pops up an input box, and you can type in like 10 plus 3 or whatever, hit enter, and it evaluates and puts that in the box. Okay? But Mr. Linskill says, it's cool, though I think it'd be a little tidier without the input box and the after update event checking if the left of the string is equal, trimming and evaluating, and then returning the result of the same text box. I thought the same thing, but the after update event never fires because it doesn't see it as a valid number. So if you got it to work with the after update event, I want to know about it. I have another solution, and I'm going to share it in the next fitness video. But if you try to put something like that in the after update event, let's use family size here, for example, right? After update event. Okay. If you try to say if the left of family size, comma 1 equals, then just, we'll just message box hi. All right. Save that. And now if you come back here and try to do that, equals 1 plus 1, bam. The form tries to validate that that's a valid number before the after update event even runs. So you can't even get to it. I can't even click off of that field. So this after update is never going to run. In fact, let me hit escape here. Even if you put the, message box running here, okay, and you go equals 1 plus 1, see, it doesn't even get to after update. In fact, I don't even think it gets to before update. Let's try before update too. I played around with this for a while before I settled on the input box. Let's try this in before update. All right, equals 1 plus 1. See? All right, so it's throwing an error before any of those events run. I do have a solution, and it's a little complicated, and I will share that in the next fitness video. It's probably going to be fitness 54, since I already have through 53 recorded. So look for that. Dingus Baddis is talking about my pick address series, where I show you how to pick an address for a customer, because customers could have multiple addresses. You want to pick one of them to go on their invoice. And Dingus Baddis says if the customer is changed I would be tempted to disable the invoice button to remind users to pick the address. That's right. Yeah, you could do that. If you could say, for example, if the address combo box is null, or it has an invalid value. If the user changes the customer combo box, you might also want to set the address combo box equal to null. And then if that's null, don't let them print the invoice without an address. But that's a business rule. That's something you might want to do for your business, because if you got a cash in hand, walk away type business, then you might not need to require an address. So it's totally up to you, but definitely a good idea. Shadow Dragon appreciates my checking off a checkbox, right? Check off, get it? Check off. Right up there with cling on. Oh, I see what you did there. Another comment from Dingus Battis. The part I wanted to mention was that he's interested in I can't talk today. A dynamic way to copy records between tables. Dynamic being if you add a new field, the code can detect it and copy it. I actually have something like this that I'm planning on covering in an upcoming developer lesson, like developer 51 or 52, whatever we're on right now, because I need something like that myself. Basically, what you have to do is you have to analyze all of the fields in the source table and then analyze all the fields in the destination table. And if a field doesn't exist, add it. I run into this problem all the time because like when I archive old contacts or old emails, if I add a field to the source table, it throws an error if that field doesn't exist in the destination table, and you can't just use a basic update query. So that's definitely coming up in a developer lesson. I'll be building that very soon, so stay tuned. Next up, Brian says, how do I count grades for a specific class from a table with different classes? There's a million different ways to do this stuff. The technique that I show you in this video would work using a count function in a form footer. If you just put a criteria on your query that's underneath it, right? Put a criteria on for the specific class, and then you're good. Or you could use an aggregate query and get counts for all of them. There's lots of different ways. It all depends on how your data is set up. Let me give you some videos you can watch to get more information. Here's a video on basic query criteria. So you can just say when the form opens, have it prompt you for, what class ID do you want or something like that. And if you want to put the value in an open form, like have on your main menu, have, what's the class you want, then you hit a button, then it puts the criteria in the query, and then it shows you on the form what class you're looking for. That's another option. Or you could use an aggregate query, which will give you the count of all of the classes, right, grouped together. So again, depends on your data. Check these out. If you still have questions, post another comment. And don't post a reply on this comment. I almost never read reply comments. Just post a new top-level comment. Next up, we got Chrono Meta saying, do you have to actually store the data? I think you mean, or you're asking if you have to store the data in Access. I just want to make relational searches for our customer data that sits in an intranet. Okay. I would need to make sure the data is not stored. That's fine. In Access, you can use something called a linked table. If you got your data stored, in some other data source, whether it's SQL Server or even just a collection of Excel files or whatever, you just link to them. You don't have to actually import that data into Access. Then you can use all of Access's tools to work with the data. That's one of the beauties of Access, is really Access is a front end. Yeah, it's got its own little simple database stuff, but it's not really a database server like SQL Server is. It's just a front end. And so you can connect it to whatever data that you want, and that's what Access is good for. This video will give you some additional information on, I show you how to link to Excel, but the data source really doesn't matter. There's lots of different data sources you can link to. Once in a while, I do what I call a conversation starter, just to get some feedback, get some of your ideas, see what everybody's thinking in the Access ecosystem. And last time I said, what is the one feature in Access you wish Microsoft would improve or update? And some people gave me a lot more than just one, but that's okay. I like your feedback anyways. Raymond had one of the most thoughtful replies. He said that reports and subreports need to work as well as forms and subforms. Good luck. Me personally, as a developer, I know that I spend probably 10 times as much time working on forms that I do on reports. Reports basically are just, in my case, just for presenting information to someone else that's not using the database. But so I do most of my work in forms. But I get what you're saying. He says not having code that runs in subreports is crippling. So yeah, I get it, especially if you're trying to make a sub-report that that is made up of a bunch of unrelated reports. He also talked about the aesthetics, more modern aesthetics. Yep, that's a good one. And VBA's reference is inconsistent. Now, we don't want Microsoft making the VBA reference library too good, because then you guys wouldn't need me. Sammy said he'd like to see closer integration with SQL Server. On that note, I personally would like to see Microsoft do more to make it easy to link Access and SQL Server, like with linked tables, without having the password visible in the connection string. That's one of the things I hate the most. Donald said that he'd like to allow more granular control over continuous form rows. I get that. Right? CSS styling or CSS-like styling. Adam said that his complaint is about the weakness of doing things at runtime in comparison to what you can do with things like a web-based app. I get that. Juan would like to see adjustable checkboxes. Yeah, definitely. I got a video on how to make a big checkbox, but it's basically just a graphic. Debbie said she'd like to see when you close the Office application, when you close an Access application, you get prompted to save changes. You should, normally. That's how Access works. If you make design changes, at least, it should say, hey, you want to save this form or report that you're working on? Data, not so much. Data is just automatically saved. So, not sure exactly what happened there, but something might have glitched on you. Gary wishes that Access would create standalone EXE applications. Yeah, I see that a lot from people that want, like, they want to make it so that it doesn't look like it's an Access database, but they can distribute it to other people. I get that a lot. Glenn says that when the navigation pane opens up, it pushes over forms to the right, where that can be annoying because the rightmost thing gets pushed off the edge of the window, kind of. So that'd be better as like an overlay. I agree with that. Yeah, because then you get this looking thing and this. On YouTube, we got some comments. I post the same thing on a bunch of different places just to see what all the feedback is going to be like. More options to edit the visual interface, update the VB IDE. Yeah, that's like from the 90s. The calendar, give it the ability to move back and forth by years. Yup. The developer section of its offline help. No, like I said, we don't want that to get too good because then you don't need me. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I still end up either Googling or ChatGPTing a lot of stuff like that too. Connection to a web app so you don't have to use a server. Well, you'd need a server for the data, like SQL Server at least, but a nice front-end developer would be nice if you could take your Access forms and just make them into web pages. I got kind of a prototype I've been working on that kind of does that, but it's not ready for prime time yet. Wow, that's a loaded question. Yeah. Well, it's a conversation starter. I want to see what you guys have to say. Sean pointed out that if you reference one like library file from another file, the functions and stuff are visible but not editable. And that's a good catch. It's a sneaky one. Access should throw a warning if you try to edit some reference library code. This one is Fuego Esmeralda. This one is on their list. It was supposed to be out last month. Hopefully it's out soon. Zooming in on forms and stuff. Andrew's talking about resorting IDs. Remember, those IDs are not for you. Those are for Access to use internally. But I do agree that they should make some kind of easier way to have an incremental counter instead of having to make them yourself. Updated the original charts instead of the new Metro ones. Yeah, maybe. Proper Gantt chart. Yeah, that could be handy. And regex. Okay, yeah, definitely. All good ideas, folks. Not that many comments in my Reddit group, but we did get one down here. When a form label width contains all the letters in design view just fine, but then it's too short in form view, cutting off the ending letters. Yeah, that is annoying. Got a bunch of replies in the Facebook group. Ability to control zoom for zooming. Yeah, again, they're supposed to be adding that. Letting the database run online and the web. Android applications. Yeah, bring back the web app. I'm seeing that everywhere. When you create a form size and align the grid to be automatic. Yeah, you could set up a template for that. I use a template. Copilot. They should put Copilot in it. I mean, it's in Word and Excel. Why not? Auto size according to monitor resolution. That'd be nice. I've got a template for that, but again, it's a lot of work. There's another web version. Version control from Boyd. Better compatibility with touchscreens. Yeah, that's more about how you design your forms than anything, but sure. No replies on Twitter. I'm sad. Or I refuse to call it X. It's still Twitter. Then again, it only got 45 views, so can't complain. What do I have? I got 500 followers on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter still, here I am. Follow me. No replies on LinkedIn either. Sad. I forgot I also posted it as a short too, like my little picture. Yes, that's AI, by the way. I took my face and put it on somebody else. Open up the source code. Microsoft has essentially ended development of this great tool. No, they haven't. No, they have not ended development of this tool. They're not putting a ton of resources into it. I think they should. I think it could be a much, much better tool than it is if they'd put in some actual, significant investment into it. But yeah, why not put it in the hands of open source developers? There's a huge installed base of Access users, huge, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of users. So I'm sure when it comes to the time, they might. What did they just release the source code to something like Windows 95 or one of those old DOS maybe? Update the control for modern interfaces. Yep. Additional options for conditional formatting. Definitely. Adjustable font sizes. Yep. When you zoom in and out, different resolutions of your monitor. That stuff too. Sure. Allowing access to automatically repair and fix the file when closing. It does have compact on close. I don't like using it, but that does exist and preventing it from growing unnecessarily in size. That is a feature that's already in there. The checkbox, we talked about that already. Yep. Vertical alignment of text and controls. Yep. Executable. That'd be nice. There are some other tools. I used one years ago that let you package and deploy it, but you still need access. Export to docx. You can make a docx file using word automation from Access. It's not easy. I got a couple of videos on that. Nitpicking. No, this isn't a nitpick. This is something that I wish that they would do. Right, when you add an existing field, set the field's name equal to the control source, or add the ability. One of my pet peeves is add the ability for the command button or the combo box wizard to ask for the name of the combo box. That's something I always end up having to go back and do. Modern code editor like VS Code. Yup. Rank in a column like Excel. Yeah, you can do it. It just requires a little work. I got a video on it. Modern forms that are tested and work before release to users. Hey now. Careful. Update the query by interface to allow nested subquery options. Yeah. Now that might be a lot to ask. Create a query to delete duplicates. You can do that. Just got to use the count function. I got a video on it. First, I like the photo looking good. Yeah, I wish I could say that that's an actual photo, but it's not. I took my photo and I put it on someone else with one of those face swap AI tools. But that is my face. Kinda. From 10 years ago. Changing the appearance of the front end so the user doesn't know it's Access. Yeah, I got a couple videos on that. There's some things you can do, but your average user can be fooled, but a developer won't be fooled. Better implementation of the tab control. I don't like the tab control at all. I've hated it since it was released. And yes, I like to use a subform. I think I answered you with this one. Yeah. Well, I think I answered it in the last quick queries. I didn't go over all these though. But I use a label to jump around. AI is another popular one. How about 30? Increase the max size to 1 terabyte. That would be tough, but remember, you can have multiple backends. So even though there's a 2 gigabyte limit, you can have multiple backend files. You just can't have one table that's over 2 gigabytes. And even in my 30-year career, I've never needed a table that was more than 2 gigabytes. You got more than 2 gigabytes in there, you got something in there that shouldn't be in there. If you're storing attachments, you shouldn't be storing attachments in your database. And some other stuff. The DBO naming convention. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. It's got its point, though. And no comments over on TikTok. I've been trying with posting some of these shorts on TikTok, but I don't think TikTok is working for my what I do. I need at least 5 to 10 minutes, at least. And I don't know. TikTok seems to be people who are mostly just quick scrollers. I've tried posting a few, short tips and stuff, but I get a couple of 100 views tops. YouTube is still where it's at for me. So that's about it for this week's Quick Queries. Thanks for watching. Make sure you stop by the website, see what's new. Always something new. If you're curious about the things that bounce around in my head, stop by and check out my captain's log. It's a little blog that I write. I try to write something every day. Like yesterday was, if Star Trek transporters were real, is that you or is that a copy and you're dead? So that's a philosophical question. Make sure you stop by the merch store, get a hat, get a sweater, get a teddy bear, get a mouse pad, whatever. I don't know, something. And remember, if you said it, you gotta forget it. Debug compile once in a while all my stupid sayings. I'd put it in my mouse pads. And if you want to get a copy of my Access book, it's on Amazon. It's basically the same thing as Access Beginner Level 1. But you get a nice printed copy of it. And if I meet up with you in one of those meetups we were talking about, I'll sign it for you. Sound cool? It's also available if you have Kindle Unlimited like I do, because I read a lot. It's also available for free with Kindle Unlimited. But that is going to do it for your Tech Help Quick Queries video for today. I hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button right now and give me a like. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. And make sure you click that bell icon and select all to receive notifications whenever I post a new video. Do you need help with your Microsoft Access project? Whether you need a tutor, a consultant, or a developer to build something for you, check out my Access Developer Network. It's a directory I put together personally of Access experts who can help with your project. Visit my website to learn more. Any links or other resources that I mentioned in the video can be found in the description text below the video. Just click on that Show More link right there. YouTube's pretty good about hiding that, but it's there. Just look for it. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, tables, all that stuff. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? And if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. That's it. And it's free for members of my YouTube channel at any level. Speaking of memberships, if you're interested in joining my channel, you get all kinds of awesome perks. Silver members get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, and there's hundreds of them by now. They also get one free beginner class each month, and yes, those are for my full courses. Gold members get the previous perks plus access to download all of the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos. Plus you get access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions and all kinds of source code that I use. And gold members get one free expert class every month after completing the beginner series. Platinum members get all of the previous perks, plus they get all of my beginner courses, all of them from every subject, and you get one free advanced or developer class every month after finishing the expert series. And you can become a diamond sponsor and have your name listed on the sponsor page on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time.